If your life were a book, what would the final chapter say? When all is said and done, when the work is finished and the dust has settled, what will be the one sentence that summarizes the impact you left on the world? What is the legacy you are building? For many, the idea of legacy or inheritance is an exclusively financial one. The conversation revolves around what assets, property, or money will be left for the next generation. And while the Bible affirms that this is a good and responsible thing to do, it invites us to a much richer, more powerful, and more eternal vision of legacy. The scriptures teach a profound truth. What you leave in your children is far more valuable than what you leave to them. A true, lasting, godly legacy is not a single transaction that occurs at the end of life. It is a multi-layered inheritance, carefully and intentionally built over a lifetime. Today, we're going to unpack the three essential components of the inheritance God calls every one of us to build: an inheritance of character, an inheritance of wisdom, and finally, an inheritance of resources. First, and most importantly, is the inheritance of character. This is the foundation upon which every other part of your legacy must be built. It's not about what you do, but about who you are. Your integrity, your faithfulness, your work ethic, your compassion, your humility. This is the true gold you pass down. Proverbs 20 verse 7 says, "The righteous lead blameless lives. Blessed are their children after them." Notice what the children receive. It doesn't say they receive a trust fund. It says they are blessed. This blessing is a spiritual and social inheritance of immense value. It's the inheritance of a good name, a reputation of integrity that opens doors and creates favor. It's the spiritual covering that comes from a parent who walked humbly with God. It's the emotional security of knowing you come from a lineage of honor. This inheritance isn't written in a will, it is modeled in daily life. It's built in the small, unseen moments. Your children are watching how you handle pressure. They see how you speak to your spouse. They observe how you conduct business when no one is looking. They learn how to treat others by watching you treat the waiter, the janitor, and the CEO with the same level of respect. Character is caught far more than it is taught. You can leave your children a mansion, but if you have not left them a model of integrity, the walls of that house will feel empty. You can leave them $1 million, but if you have not shown them the value of a good name, they will be spiritually bankrupt. The greatest gift you can ever give the next generation is the example of a life well lived, a life that honors God in word and in deed. That is a foundation that can withstand any storm. Second, we are called to leave an inheritance of wisdom. If character is the foundation, wisdom is the blueprint for how to build upon it. This is the intentional and deliberate transfer of godly principles and practical knowledge to the next generation. It's not enough to just live a good life in front of them. We must actively teach them why we live the way we do. The ultimate model for this is found in Deuteronomy chapter 6, where God instructs his people, "These commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts." Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. This is a picture of a legacy built not in classrooms, but in the context of everyday life. It's discipleship in the car on the way to school. It's having open conversations around the dinner table about what the Bible says about money, work, relationships, and purpose. It's sharing your own stories, both your victories and your failures, and the lessons God has taught you through them. Leaving an inheritance of wisdom means intentionally equipping your children to be wise managers of their own lives. It means teaching them the biblical principles of stewardship, generosity, and diligence. It's preparing them to make their own wise choices long after you are gone. You are giving them the instruction manual for a blessed life, the blueprint that will allow them to build their own house of faith upon the foundation of character you have laid. Third, we build an inheritance of resources. Now, with the foundation of character and the blueprint of wisdom firmly in place, we can talk about the third pillar, the material and financial inheritance. The Bible is very clear that it is a good and godly thing to plan for the future of your family. Proverbs 13 verse 22 says, "A good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children." Our God is a multi-generational God, and he thinks in terms of covenants and legacies that span generations. Notice, however, that this pillar comes last. There is a divine order here. Resources without character and wisdom can be a curse, not a blessing. Money in the hands of a person with no integrity or knowledge can destroy them and everyone around them. But resources in the hands of a person of character and wisdom can literally change the world. The purpose of a financial inheritance is not to create a life of ease and idleness for your children. Its purpose is to be fuel for their God-given purpose. It is a tool. It's a tool to give them a head start, to launch their own dreams, to pursue their calling without the crushing burden of starting from zero. It's a tool to empower them to continue the family's legacy of generosity and to navigate the inevitable challenges of life with a measure of security. Building this inheritance requires practical steps: creating a will or a trust, securing life insurance, investing wisely, and above all, teaching your children financial literacy. These are the instruments we use to build this final part of our legacy, ensuring that the resources we leave behind will be a blessing that fuels the mission for generations to come. So, as we reflect on this, we see a beautiful, holistic picture of a godly legacy emerge. We model a legacy of character. We teach a legacy of wisdom. And we prepare a legacy of resources. Each is vital, and they must be built in that order. Leaving a lasting legacy is not something you think about in your final years of life. It is the cumulative effect of how you live every single day. The choices you make today are shaping the heritage you will leave tomorrow. So I encourage you to ask yourself some honest questions. What is your family catching from your character? What wisdom are you intentionally and actively passing down to those you influence? What is the ultimate, eternal purpose behind the resources you are working so hard to accumulate? You are building your legacy right now, in this moment, with the choices you are about to make. Don't just work for a living, live for a legacy. Build a heritage of faith, character, and wisdom so strong that it blesses your children and your children's children. That is an inheritance that will truly last forever.